In the last 2 decades, there have been 2 major economic crashes. In 2008, the US banking sector collapsed. It caused a worldwide recession. Then 12 years later, in 2020, the Wuhan virus struck. It triggered the largest economic crisis in more than 100 years. Now we are in 2025 and the world is on the brink of another crash. But it's also different this time, because this crisis has been crafted by just one man, US President Donald Trump. He is single-handedly rattling the global economy. The world's top economists and regulators are sounding alarms. Today, the World Trade Organization has weighed in. It's better known as the WTO, the World Trade Organization. The WTO says that global trade will shrink this year, and it blames Donald Trump's tariffs for this. The WTO has slashed its trade forecast. Earlier, it expected goods trade to grow by 2.7%. That was the forecast for 2025, 2.7% growth. But now it predicts a drop of 0.2%. And it says that the worst hit will be North America. It will see the steepest decline in trade. So the message is clear: tariffs are tearing economies apart. The WTO chief highlighted the US-China divide. She called their trade war, and I'm quoting, really worrying.
Escalating trade tensions between the United States and China pose a significant risk of a sharp contraction in their bilateral trade. Our preliminary projections suggest that merchandise trade between these 2 economies could decrease by as much as 80%.
You don't need a rocket scientist to figure this out. American tariffs come with consequences. They have raised uncertainty. They can shrink trade. They will certainly hit exports, and ultimately, they will slow down growth. The US Federal Reserve agrees. That's the American Central Bank. Its chair, Jerome Powell, is concerned. He says tariffs are putting the central bank in a bind because tariffs will make things more expensive. This will raise inflation. And it will force the Fed to raise interest rates. If they raise rates, loans will become expensive. It will hurt economic growth. And it will lead to more unemployment.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
Powell says this is a challenging scenario. He has compared the situation to a penalty shootout where the Fed is the goalkeeper. Jerome Powell says the Fed must die one way or the other. It can either fight inflation or it can protect jobs. It may not be able to do both. And this is going to be a tough call. This warning shook the American markets. The Dow Jones fell nearly 700 points in yesterday's trade. The Nasdaq dropped more than 3%. Technology stocks led this slide. The overall investor mood is grim. It is not a recession yet, but investors say they can see it coming. According to the Bank of America, global investors are spooked. The bank has conducted a survey. It spoke to 164 global fund managers. They manage assets worth almost $400 billion. Now, these managers are rethinking their investments in the US. They want to cut their holdings in US equities. Almost half of them believe that a hard landing is likely. That means a sharp slowdown, with falling growth, rising layoffs, and real financial pain. In February, just 6% of these investors felt that this was possible, but now 49% of them say that a hard landing is the most likely outcome. Here's another interesting fallout. Indian exports to the US surged last month. In the month of March, total exports from India crossed $86 billion, which is a record high. They shipped goods worth $10 billion to the US alone. Now, this is a jump of 35% compared to last year. And this spike is thanks to tariffs. Companies rushed to ship goods before the tariffs kicked in. Of course, this surge is temporary, possibly a one-off. Chinese imports into India have also soared. They jumped by 25% last month. As a result, India's trade deficit with China has crossed $99 billion. Long story short, the trade climate is precarious. Trump has paused tariffs for 90 days. This should have calmed markets and investors, but that has not happened. In fact, the opposite is happening. Fears of a recession are growing, this time not from a virus or a credit crisis, but from an ego trip that turned into a policy decision in Washington. Its ripple effects across the world are just beginning to show.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Bluntly, Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.